Our next organization that you're going to hear from, they continue to push the limits of what conversational AI can do to meet the needs of both their customers and their employees as they provide superior service to over 300,000 members. They are very quick to jump on new ideas and really look at all the different touch points that they have with their user base, getting different parts of their organization involved. I always enjoy having meetings with this team because I find we always end up with smiles on our faces as ideas pop up throughout the call and usually have declarations of, yeah, we can make that work. So now I will pass it over to Ben and Amy from Michigan State University Federal Credit Union to talk about how they're bringing similar smiles to their customers and employees. Thank you.
Hello, all. We're so excited to be able to join you. We made the trip from Michigan in the United States on Monday, so if we mess up our words, we're working through jet lag, and that we'll roll right through it. I'm Amy Iceman. I'm our Chief Research and Digital Experience Officer. I oversee our digital channels, and I also house the AI team within my team. So they're the ones dedicated to supporting the virtual assistants we'll talk about today.
And I'm Ben Maxim, the Chief Digital Strategy and Innovation Officer at Michigan State University Federal Credit Union. I run our innovation lab and really focus on what's next for what we're up to, including conversational AI and the LLMs and all the other cool stuff we're going to hear about today as well.
So we're going to dive right in to keep things moving. We're going to introduce you to our virtual assistant team. So we actually have 2 virtual assistants. I will also preface that we do call them bots regularly, and I didn't know that that was negative until today. So if I say it again, I apologize. But we'd like to introduce you to Fran and Jean. So Fran is our external chatbot. So she's the one that works and interacts with our members. And Jean is our internal chatbot. So they interact with our employee base. So actually, Ben is the one who helped us find Boost. We had already launched Fran in 2019 with a different partner, and we're struggling to kind of get traction in the way that she was interacting with our membership. And through the lab at MSU, which is our incubator test space that we work with in our organization, Ben had been introduced to Boost, and we actually ran a pilot with Boost to create Jean, to see how the differences would work in the platforms, but also to introduce efficiencies for our employees. So Jean actually came through the lab. We ran a pilot and introduced it to our employee base, and they had a phenomenal response. They had already seen really great improvement in the 2 weeks that we piloted. From the first survey we did with them, where about 50% thought that Jean would be beneficial to their workday, to the end of the pilot, where nearly 100% of the people responding to our survey of our employees thought that Jean would be important to our growth as an organization. So just a little introduction to them. Fran is actually named after our first CEO. So MSU Federal Credit Union started in 1937. We hired our first female CEO in 1950. That was our first official CEO. Previous to that, it was just managed internally by the organization or the individuals who created the organization. So she's a namesake of Fran. And then Jean is short for genius, which is partly part of our ability to keep Jean non-binary. So they are they, them. They are referred to that way in our organization to make sure all of our employees feel like they can connect to Jean in their own way. So a little bit of information about Fran. So again, we stood up Fran in 2019. We moved to Boost in 2020, I think is when we made the official switch over, or 2021-ish, but it's been several years now that Fran has been on Boost, and her growth has been phenomenal. We get thousands and thousands of chats. She does a fabulous job. She has an impressive rate of accuracy that we weren't really expecting based on our previous interaction. So when we made that switch to Boost and really saw the traction we could gain, we went all in. So Clay was not kidding when we throw things out. We are always like, could Fran do this? Or can we offer this? Or what would she be able to do in this instance? And just recently, actually in April, we previously had Fran separate from our live chat agent, so our members had the opportunity to select either option, to talk to a live human or to talk with Fran. And Fran still got a lot of activity in that space, but in April, we actually moved Fran in front of our live chat agents. So you now speak to Fran first, and then based on the questions or the escalation need, you go to a human following. And Fran has actually crushed that engagement. She now takes about 73% of those chats and is able to accurately answer them and move the member along in their processes. And that's really changed the way that my digital live chat team works, because similar to what Ava was talking about before, they didn't want to answer what is our routing number, what is my account balance, over and over and over on repetition. Fran now handles all of that, and they are dealing with the members who are trying to deal with estate planning or are trying to open a mortgage or having more complex interactions. So their day has become more valuable. They're doing more of that heavy lifting that they really are trained to do. And Fran is doing a lot more of the repetitive work that, regardless of how many places we put our routing number on our website, it is still her number one question. It could be in big, bold letters, and it would still be Fran's number one. But she's doing an amazing job at answering that. So that's really how we've implemented Fran. We actually launched post-login activities, so you can log in and be authenticated in Fran and get personalized information, which we're really looking to move to the next level. And Fran was really a great partnership to Gene. So Gene, again, is our internal bot. We've got 1,100 employees. We're a $7.4 billion organization. And those individuals are really trained now to use Gene as their first line of defense in looking up information for our organization. So Gene operates in our back office space. I don't know if I broke it or not. I'm going to just keep rolling because you already know what Gene looks like. So Gene operates in our back office space. We do actually train our employees to use Gene as their first line of defense. So Gene actually grew tremendously quickly. So the second we introduced Gene, our employees wanted more data in their interface. So we wanted to make sure that we continue to add intents. And no matter how many requests we get, we are always having more. So initially, we really taught Gene to coach our frontline employees through member engagement. So I need to open an auto loan. Here are the steps that you're going to walk the member through. Here's the information you need to collect. Boost has a wonderful interface that allows us to break that down in really digestible bites for our employees. That's really where Gene started for us. But then our employees started asking, what's Ben's extension? And when are our holidays? And what does my benefits packet look like? And all of these other HR and engagement type opportunities. How do I join our company's volleyball team? Comes up in Gene. You know, all of these different things. That wasn't really what we introduced Gene for, but we are now, again, going all in on what their performance will look like. So just a few stats for Gene. Gene gets 7,000 inquiries a month. Most of our team actually just has Gene up and open on their computers all day when they're interfacing. So we have live member service individuals in our branches. We have a live chat team and a call center. So we operate about 500 individuals that are doing that frontline member-to-member work, and Gene is there with them all day, and our back office also has education within Gene as well. So we've included just some stats here so you can see how Gene was created, some of their initiatives, and all of those other items. But what I really want to dive into is what we are hoping to do next. So I was not kidding when we said we went all in. We have only continued to figure out more things that we believe Fran can support with and that Gene can support with. So we are looking, as we go forward, to more post-login opportunities. So one of the things that Ben and I work on together, as Ben runs the Innovation Lab, is we really start to look at how do our other fintech partners fit into this world that Fran has created. So we're really figuring out how do we do more post-login growth so that we know you as a member have logged in and started talking to us, and we know that you have a mortgage with us or you're paying off your student loans, and we're now offering you tools that we have within our ecosystem to support your journey individually. So Fran is no longer, although she can, answering the broad questions. She's now talking to you as a member and helping you scale your journey appropriately, as opposed to us just offering you a more generic set of products. We're now saying, we think based on where you're at in your financial journey, you could use these tools and that would make you more successful. And then Fran will also help you mature in that journey. So you've now paid off your car loan. Do you want a new car, or do you want to start reinvesting that money into savings? And so that's really what Ben and I work on collaboratively, is what can we innovate, and then how is that supported in our digital spaces? And so we've really leaned into how Fran can do that for us. So a lot more post-login growth. We're looking again at opportunities for her to be in our branch space. So when you're entering a branch, can she be the one that greets you? Can we modernize? We've already got digital login or check-in when you get to a branch, but can we make that more approachable through Fran, because our members have really grown to love her and accept her? So instead of having to just answer some benign questions on an iPad, could Fran coach our members through what that branch process looked like? Or can she help answer some of those simple questions? So we're really trying to figure out how she starts merging with our human spaces as well. And then both Fran and Jean are going to look at our IVA processes with Boost. We're in a pilot phase right now with Boost testing the IVA, and it's going really well for Jean. We're using it as an internal helpline. And we're looking again to then start looking at how we can do that for our membership base with Fran. Jean specifically, we're really leaning into how Jean can become a knowledge management platform. So no longer just answering questions. Again, they will be able to do that. But how can they really be the keeper of all of the knowledge? How can they become the single source of truth for our employees to know that the information in Jean is the most accurate and the most up-to-date and the most reliable of all of the information that we have floating around? And that's really important in our space, because from a regulatory standpoint, we have to make sure that those things are accurate. We don't get to just decide one day that this is an answer and then this is another answer. The day that that happens is a very sad day for us. And so the fact that Jean could potentially become the single source of truth and give our employees that confidence is something we're really driving towards. And then again, in just throwing all of the crazy things at Boost that we possibly can, we've asked them how we can up our chat game, so how our live agent chat game can be better supported through their organization. And I will tell you, they have very rarely, if ever, told me no. And I don't know if I should say that on stage, but for any of the rest of you, I think you should just ask, because it seems to go great. But I would just, the Boost team has been amazing along the road, and that's really allowed us to build what we've been able to create. But what Ben's gonna dive into is what we hear a lot in the markets and where people get stuck, and what we've learned from the other industry partners that haven't maybe taken the same journey that we have, but what the appropriate steps look like to kind of navigate through those hurdles, and then what we've learned along the way that we hope could be beneficial to maybe some of you on the journey.
All right, thanks, Amy. So we're gonna start by talking about some blockers, and really, before I get into that, really looking at conversational AI as kind of a new delivery channel. So we went and put all this effort into the web 20, 30 years ago, then mobile. Now AI, conversational AI, is a new delivery channel for all these services that we're trying to offer. So really maintaining it and treating it as though you were going to maintain and update a website. So things that we run into as we talk to different people, both in our industry and others, really looking to do it. Really feeling that their customer base, their members aren't going to like it. They're not going to like the automation of that customer journey, that guest experience, that member experience. Well, I think as long as you make it that an experience, and one thing we decided very purposely early on is to focus on making sure that our members knew that you were speaking with a bot. By making sure that they know you're speaking with a conversational AI, a bot, they are have a little bit more grace and have a little bit more leeway for maybe a wrong answer or not having the right information. When they're trying to mimic human-like qualities or human likeness, then there's this expectation that they're going to be able to do everything possible that a human would. People don't feel like they have the budget or time. One of the main reasons I helped select Boost for our organization was the little amount of time that our team needs to spend doing this and building the process. We don't need a team of 400 coders. We don't need all these tech people to do it. It really is a service-oriented infrastructure, and is one that Amy's team is able to hop on, able to train some employees from the front line to do this and really help them grow their careers in a different way than maybe they thought they would. And we were able to set up our first pilot with Boost in 10 days. That first Gene build, 10 days, and we were able to run it very well. And then when we went to do the full build out of everything, it was only 10 weeks. And that was a lot more about how do we get our documents in a way that can be ingested by the platform versus the actual technology lift to do so. And all the stuff they're doing with large language models now is only going to make that easier. Also looking at, we don't have the expertise. Again, a lot of people look at conversational AI or AI in general as tech projects. Tech is the enabler in all these services. How are you going to apply it to your use case, your industry, your business is really what you need to focus on. The tech is easy, and let Boost handle that, or whoever you're working with. It's not secure. There are parts of it that may or may not be, depending on how you use it, but the Boost platform, again, one of the reasons we selected them is that security posture they have and the ability to secure the data. And we could never get to the behind the login, all the cool, real stuff we want to do with insights and really understanding and helping our members understand their own data that they have with us because we weren't able to get them to have the security that we needed. That's already there. Also, it's not a priority. I think really we're now at an inflection point. We see a lot of stuff in the news. People are starting to become AI fluent. I really like that term from the earlier presentation. The more that we do there, I think it's going to become an easier sell internally as well. So going more broadly into some insights, we got a few of these to work through. You don't have to do it all at once. I think that's the greatest thing I learned in rolling out conversational AI is people will ask conversational AI whatever they think it should be able to tell them. So just have enough so that there's an experience and get started and really use your customer base to help you understand what the conversational AI needs to be. And that's really the most important lesson I think we learned in all of it. You don't have to spend months and years building this thing out. Just get it live, get enough in there, and let it learn, let it grow. And then the tools in the back end and the platform really help you understand what questions are being asked, how do you make it better, how do you make it smarter. And really that's probably the greatest lesson that we learned in all of this is just get started. Also, understand your customers' employees. Listen, understand to them. Employees have this fear that these conversational AIs are going to come in. We don't need a call center. We don't need people to answer chats. Well, we do. You just now get to do the funner part of those chats. You don't have to answer things that make you want to, all the tedious things that make you go to your boss and say, hey, I never want to answer that question again. I'm really sick of it. Even though it was fun to have some easy ones at first, like Ava said earlier. It's the same thing. What are the things that are easy to automate? What are the things that are easy to help? And then the employees start to then see the conversational AI as a member of the team. Same thing with our customers, our members, really starting to understand, hey, we as an organization can't afford scale to do 24/7 by 365 call center. So here's our opportunity to help our members that live in other countries, live in other states, different time zones. They're getting off work in California, but our call center is closing, so how do they do any of their transactions? What we also found out is that in the middle of the night, most people are just having problems making payments. So how do we help them buy whatever they're trying to buy at that time? And Fran is able to help them with that. And that, again, we've not automated away our experience. We've used it to augment the experience and give them more versus less or take away what they're used to. Be willing to test and learn. We do like to push the envelope with Boost. We love to have partners, and I think that's the biggest thing. Don't be afraid to try something new. Put guardrails on it, so if you do fail, or it's really about learning, not failing. So you go quickly, you experiment. If you get it wrong, all right, make some changes, pivot, do new things. But really, kind of the reason we have an innovation lab, the reason I have the role I do is really to try new things. Not everything's going to pay off. And again, we heard it earlier, pick a few use cases, try them out. If they don't work well, stop, move on to something else. But really just start somewhere. And that's how you're going to figure out where you should go. Kind of last one, making connections. Again, we talk about partnerships and environments. How do we use conversational AI as a new delivery channel? Looking at how do we do all these different things we're doing with fintech? How do we use it to unlock our data and empower our members to be smarter consumers? How are they able to better manage their money? People don't learn the same level, from their families or different ways that people used to learn about money. It's different now. People don't want to balance their checkbook. Some people don't even know what a check is anymore. So I don't know anyone write a check today. But anyway, when everything's going through Venmo and all that, they just expect the money to flow and do things. Here's the opportunity to enable them and have all these things at their fingertips and really digitize that relationship we're trying to have with our members. They don't come into the branch every other Friday to get money out, put money in. So how do we build a relationship with them? Conversational AI is a way for us to do that, both to serve them, but also to get some of that extra data that we need to really be able to make it a good experience for them and make all these different connections like we would have with mobile and web, in the past. And we like to leave every presentation we do with the top 5. So if you didn't take any notes before, take a picture of this slide. That's all you need to know. You can take this back to your company and say, this is what I learned when I was at Boost Camp. Decide where to start. Pick something. Pick a use case. Talk to your team. Pick one and get started. Just do something. Get it out there. Don't be afraid to fail. Understand your customer. Understand your employee. There are 2 sides of that. In order to support your customer, you probably have employees that are doing that work. So how do you support them in being able to support the customer? And it's not always the direct customer interaction that you have. You can also enable your employees to be a stronger customer advocate, customer experience driver, because you're helping them work more efficiently, work more collaboratively with your customers. Be willing to try things. Really, that's, I think, key. Just try new things. The platform is very flexible. You're able to do a lot of things very quickly, and if it doesn't work, just move to the next thing. And really, it's easy. Find partners. Bring people into this ecosystem. Again, just like you have all these different connections to your website, your mobile app, or all your other enterprise technology, you do the same thing with conversational AI. Bring in the partners. It really makes the whole ecosystem stronger. It makes your technology better. It makes your company stronger if you pull everything into one place. And never stop dreaming. We like to push the envelope. Come find us throughout the day. We'd love to hear what ideas you have and maybe how we can all work together to really make conversational AI and what's next for it really the future of what we do in technology.
That's it. Thanks for letting us chat with you.